Hey guys, it's Sinem, or welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. Now don't come for me. In my last video, I did this makeup look and I have time to film another video. So, you know, it's the same makeup from last video and I just put on a different little top, and I'm going to be doing my holy grail foundations. I have 8 foundations here that I'm going to be sharing with you guys, which are like my all-time favorites that I will always repurchase for our drugstore and for our high end. And I think you guys are going to really like this one. I go in depth as well with the texture. I'll do close-ups of the foundation. I hope you guys are going to find a foundation in here that you will want to buy for yourself as well and that you will love. And without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. This first one is quite a funny one because I did a review on this and at the time I wasn't really sure about it. I didn't really like it, but now I absolutely love it. And that is the Too Faced Born This Way 24-hour matte foundation. So not their original one, it's the matte version. And I do have dry skin for reference when I do talk about all these foundations. And there's something about this foundation that I absolutely love. First of all, it's very full coverage and it just sits really nicely on top of my dry skin, which is why I love it, because a lot of foundations, you know, sit weird on dry skin, especially if it's a matte finish. And I feel like this one is just a creamy matte. It's not a drying matte. And the good thing about it as well is that once it's on the skin, it does not budge. And it definitely is a very long lasting foundation. Now, it still does come off in certain areas like my nose and my chin, but for the most part, it definitely lasts longer than a lot of my other foundations that I've noticed. And, you know, it's oil free, waterproof, transfer resistant, but I love it because it is a full coverage matte foundation for the days I do want to do a matte finish, but sits nicely on top of my dry skin, and that's why I love it. It's really creamy, and it's honestly just one of those foundations where I feel like if you want to go, you know, full glam and you want your foundation to just stay in place and wear all day and you want a matte finish, then this is the one, especially maybe for weddings, photo shoots, you know, like a big event. This is that kind of foundation that you need. I absolutely love this one. And the shade I have is Swan. Now, one that's quite the opposite is this one right here, which a lot of people do not talk about. And this is the XX Revolution Glow Skin Foundation. This baby right here, oh my god. So XX Revolution is the sister brand of Makeup Revolution, and this foundation, I hope they're not discontinuing it because no one really talks about it. I have mine in the shade FX 2.5. This is like the opposite. So it's like a medium to full coverage. Actually, it's quite full coverage. I'd say it's a full coverage foundation, but more on the radiant finish side. So again, creamy. It lasts a long time as well. It's not super slippery. It's like a thicker formula. And it still has a little bit of a runniness to it, but it's definitely a lot thicker in terms of like most dewy foundations. And this one, instead of giving you like a super dewy finish, just gives you a really beautiful radiant finish. Now, there's always a difference between dewy and radiant. Don't think that they're the same. Dewy is like overly, you know, glossy and glowy and just kind of wet looking on the skin, whereas radiant just looks more, how can I say, soft and glowy. Does that make sense? Like, it's not, you don't look wet, but you still look glowy. It just looks very healthy looking, supple, plump. That's like the kind of words that come to mind when thinking about this foundation and using this foundation. So I absolutely love this one, and it's just one that a lot of people do not talk about, and it truly looks so beautiful on the skin. Next, speaking of dewy foundations, Wet n Wild Dewy Foundation. This one, I tried their original one, which I actually have, and I like it, but not as much as this one. This one has become a holy grail, mainly because it's a dewy foundation. And it's like the perfect amount of dewiness where it's not so crazy dewy, but again, not like a natural satin or matte finish. It's just, I don't know, very glowy on the skin, very healthy looking, and it's one of those great foundations for this time of the year, the spring, the summertime, but also in the winter when your skin does get a little more dehydrated and dry, or if it looks a little dull and it just needs a little pick-me-up. A dewy foundation like this is just a must, and plus it's so affordable because it's Wet n Wild. I have mine in the shade Soft Ivory, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It goes on really lightweight as well. It is more of a medium coverage. You can build it up to get 4, but I think it gives the right amount of coverage because it is more medium, and I wouldn't really go more than that because then it does tend to look a little more kind of caked on if you were to keep on building this foundation. So I would use it just as a medium coverage foundation and not try to build it. And also it's just really lightweight on the skin. It feels breathable. It's a very liquidy formula, so you can see, you know, it's just more liquidy than the other two, whereas the other two are still liquidy, of course, because they're liquid foundations, but they have a little bit more of a thickness to it, whereas this is a little more runny. And typically I like more runny foundations on my dry skin. I don't know why, I feel like they just blend a lot easily on my dry skin, whereas sometimes thicker foundations can tend to cling onto any dry patches or texture. So yeah, absolutely love this one. Highly recommend this as well. Some sad news. If you guys have been with me for a while, you will know that my holy grail high-end foundation is the Makeup Forever HD Ultra HD foundation. They discontinued this and came out with a new Makeup Forever HD foundation. I have not tested that, so I have no idea if it is the same formula, but I believe it's reformulated and it's a different formula. And not only that, to make things worse, they've changed the shades as well. It's not the same shade range anymore. If you guys have tried the new Makeup Forever HD foundation, please let me know in the comment section if it is completely different to this one, if it's the same, what's the difference between them. But I definitely do want to get the new one. But this is the one I have. I've always used this one and it is just my favorite, and I'm just going to be so upset if the new Makeup Forever one is nothing like this, because this formula is unbeatable. It's like nothing that I have ever tried in a foundation. It's so seamless on the skin. It honestly looks like a filter, but it gives the right amount of coverage. It's medium coverage. You can build it. It's very creamy. It's a little bit on the thick side as well. It's very moisturizing on the skin, and your skin just looks naturally healthy and glowy, but again, not in a super glowy way. With this foundation, it is more, I would say, of a satin finish because it does dry down, and I just think it's just one of the best foundations ever. But again, I'm mentioning this one, this is discontinued, so if you have it or if you can get your hands on the old one, get it, but if not, then try the new one. I'm gonna have to try it, but I love my Makeup Forever HD foundation. So yeah, holy grail. But I guess not anymore because they don't make it. Let's talk about this one. Do you guys remember me raving about this? Was it last year or 2 years ago? The Morphe 2 Hint Skin Tint. This is the best skin tint you're ever gonna find. It's very liquidy, so do bear that in mind. It's very runny. Comes with a dropper. It's probably like the most runniest foundation I own. It feels like it's a little bit oily. Maybe there's a little bit of oil in there. I'm not too sure. And you do have to shake this as well. It does say to shake it. And this is a sheer to medium coverage foundation. I personally get medium coverage every time I use this, although you can use less and make it more sheer. And this skin tint, first of all, is so beautiful on the skin. It does not cling onto any dry areas on my skin. I think if you have oily skin as well, this would work, but you would probably need to set it with a little bit of powder. And this is just one of those skin tints where it evens out your skin tone. If you have any redness, it covers it up. It just balances everything where it just looks nice and seamless, but lets your skin peek through. So it's not a skin tint or tinted moisturizer that still covers everything. Your skin is going to peek through, but in the most natural way possible. It's not going to be a super sheer foundation like there's no coverage. No, it's still going to cover, and it's still going to cover over the redness, any blemishes you have, but you're still going to see your skin, which I absolutely love. It just doesn't cake on this layer, of course, because it's a skin tint. And I just feel like this is one of those skin tints where you can really mimic it. You can make it sheer, you can make it medium coverage. You can also control how much you want to put and the finish of it as well. If you use a lot, then it will be quite dewy. And then if you use less and then just use a sponge or a brush, it's going to be different. It needs more recognition, you know. It needs, not recognition, that's not the word, is that the word? Just needs more love, you know. People need to discover it more. For a high-end foundation, the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Stick Foundation. I have two stick foundations. I'm going to be talking about this one first. This is in the shade Vanilla, and this one, the reason I love it is because it is the most beautiful seamless stick foundation. If you are looking for something that's creamy, that's blendable on the skin, like in terms of stick foundations, this is going to be your best friend, because it's not a stick foundation that drags on the skin, that's dry, that's matte, like super matte, or that, you know, just looks weird and cakey. No, this is completely creamy and silky smooth on the skin. Your skin just looks like butter. I mean, it goes on like butter, and it just looks so smooth. This one I love because it's medium to full coverage, but the finish of it is so seamless, where it's kind of like a satin finish. And I would say you can really kind of make this look more natural rather than a full coverage stick foundation. It's more on the natural side. If you do build it, you can make it full. But the one I'm going to talk about now, because that's my option for when I want to go for a medium, like natural looking stick foundation. But my other holy grail stick foundation is the Hourglass Vanish Seamless Stick Foundation. This one is, again, unbeatable. Everyone loves this stick foundation. Super creamy. I mean, super creamy. I would say this is a lot more creamy than the Huda Beauty one, but this is more full coverage and more matte. It does dry down a little more to a matte finish, but it is very full coverage. So if you're looking for a good full coverage, like heavy duty stick foundation, this is the one. Of course, you can just do a tiny bit, you know, just to get more medium coverage, but overall it has more pigment in it, I feel like, and it's just more of a full coverage foundation. Again, this one is super seamless on the skin. If you have redness, blemishes, it's just going to cover over that really nicely. But it is more for those days where you want maybe like a full glam. Again, perfect for weddings. I feel like this foundation, once it's on the skin, it does not budge as well, especially when you do start putting powder on top and a good setting spray or a good primer underneath. This is just a beautiful looking stick foundation, but do be aware it is more on the fuller coverage side and a little more on the matte side, whereas this is more like natural satin finish and medium coverage, medium to buildable coverage. And I think last but not least is probably my holy grail foundation. My holy grail foundation. It beats probably the Makeup Forever one as well. It beats everything. And that's the L'Oreal Pro Glow Infallible foundation. They have a pro matte version, which I think you guys are going to absolutely love if you have combination skin or if you do have oily skin. But for my people that have normal to dry skin, the Pro Glow. The reason I say this, it's a very liquidy foundation. Again, it's very similar to, it's kind of like a hybrid between the consistency of the Skin Tint and the consistency of the Wet n Wild Dewy foundation. It's just kind of like that in between. It's quite runny and I absolutely love that. It almost has this cooling effect as well once I put it on the skin. My skin looks so plump and juicy looking, like super juicy looking. It's very glowy. This foundation is very glowy, but in the most juiciest, healthiest way. And it doesn't make you like look oily or like sweaty. That's not the look that it gives off. It just gives off almost like the makeup I have on right now, like this beautiful just glow just from this foundation. Like you wouldn't need to add additional products to give you a glow. This foundation alone is going to give you the most beautiful glow. I personally, if this foundation is still around at that time, I would probably wear this for my wedding. Like I would 100% wear this for my wedding. Of course, I'd set it with a little bit of powder, otherwise it's gonna, you know, transfer, because this foundation is not transfer proof. It doesn't dry down, so it will transfer, but I absolutely love it. Oh, and it also has SPF 15. Broad spectrum SPF 15. I had no idea it had SPF in there. I keep forgetting. This one is in the shade 201 Classic Ivory. And this one says for normal to dry skin, radiant finish and hydrating, and it's very hydrating. It again, like I said, has this cooling effect, and also it's very moisturizing. Feels like not like a typical foundation. It just feels a little more on the moisturizing side. I don't know if they've added like some moisturizing benefits to it, but it even says here as well, it wears up to 24 hours, which I don't think it does. But it gives medium coverage, and the texture is air light, lasting glow foundation, never dull and never greasy, and that is spot on. You never look like greasy and shiny, and your skin just looks awake. It just gives you this fresh, look to the skin. It is truly, I mean, I don't know what more I can say, but it is truly the best foundation I have ever tried. I'm going to America in June the 28th. I'm heading to New York and I'm heading to Washington DC. So if there are any subscribers in New York or Washington DC, I hope you guys bump into me. And yeah, I'm going to be stocking up on this over there whilst I'm over there, because we don't have it here. We do have it on Amazon, but I think it's like almost £20 I think on Amazon, but I can stock up more when I'm over there. So yeah, this one's a holy grail. I could have gone in with a lot more, but I wanted to kind of narrow it down a little more and be a little more specific and not just show you like a bunch of foundations. So I hope that was a little bit of a good insight to my favorite foundations, the textures, the finishes, all that good stuff. And I hope it was helpful. If there is a foundation in here that you guys actually own as well and that you love, let me know down below. Or if there is one that you are now going to be trying and adding to your list, let me know as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful. Give it a thumbs up if you did. And until next time, I'll speak to you guys all in my next video.